It's the YouTube called History Hunters, where one man travels all over California telling stories of a long time ago.
So Cody and his caravan are hanging out in Oakdale this morning, learning a bit of history. Hey, Cody.
Indeed. It was a little awkward this morning when Sean and I were telling you how big of fans we are of your show, and you told me you'd never seen my show. You know.
That's true. I'm not a morning person.
It's fine, Jeff. It's fine. I'll get my ego in check.
Thanks.
I'll get my ego in check. Let's talk about History Hunters. How long have you been doing this?
I started the program on my channel in 2017, and I've just always been interested in history. And there was one day in particular, my girlfriend and I, Sarah, we went to the location where Black Bart committed his first and last robberies on Funk Hill outside of Copperopolis. And after I had left there, I thought, you know, I should do my own YouTube channel and show some of these historical places that people don't know about. And I really didn't think it was going to go anywhere. I thought it was just going to be my effort, you know, just to appease my historical interest. But then it started snowballing, and currently I have about 130,000 subscribers, which isn't too shabby.
Yeah,
I know
it's good, yeah.
a lot of people have a lot more, but we're getting there. And I primarily do I like to do stories that nobody has done. But there are times when obviously somebody else has done them. Like I'll do a lot of cemetery visits. Not all cemetery visits are in my videos, so I'll do historical locations throughout California, obviously the closer ones to home. But this one here, do you want me to talk about this one?
I think we should. Why are we here? We're here to see Kyle Anderson.
Kyle Anderson, he was getting ready to retire. He was an Oakdale postman. It was the end of the day. It was August 12th, 1959. Getting ready to eat dinner with his wife and his his grandchildren were there, his daughter was there, and all of a sudden this Air Force jet, it was an F-10 Air Force jet, the pilot had bailed because he had hydraulic problems over the Jamestown area. I don't know if it's protocol to bail from your airplane, but here's this airplane. He's flying from Sacramento to a location in Arizona, decides to turn back, but he has to bail from the aircraft. So the plane actually ends up careening out of control into Oakdale, and it came in from the west side of Oakdale, hit Mr. Anderson's farm. One of the landing gear broke off and shot right into his kitchen, through the kitchen door, and killed him immediately. And poor guy's buried here, his life cut short. He was ready to retire, like I said. His wife's buried next to him. You can see that the wife lived on quite a ways afterwards, but I can just imagine the horror that this woman went through, you know, to see your husband taken out.
And it's not the only airplane or airplane equipment flying out of the sky and killing people stories that you've done in History Hunters.
No, in 1986 there was a Aeromexico jet that collided with a small plane in Cerritos, California, and then wiped out an entire neighborhood. It was very tragic. And prior to that, in the 70s, late 70s, there was a PSA crash in San Diego. Took out the entire, you know, everybody on board. I think it was like 120-something souls on board, and then 7 or 8 people on the ground were killed. But I went to that location. You can't even tell that anything tragic happened there. At both locations.
Yeah. And so you telling the story keeps their memory alive.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to do is take pictures and superimpose them. It's very popular on my channel. I will take a picture, try to stand where that person stood 120 years ago, whatever the particular picture is, and I will blend it in with the scene today, and people really enjoy seeing how things changed.
Yeah.
I did one of Waterford, California, too, where I took old pictures of the businesses in town, and then I superimposed them to today, and they could see how the town had changed. But yeah, it's been a real popular feature of my channel.
It's great. I'm telling you, History Hunters, matter of fact, go to YouTube right now and subscribe. We're watching to see how many people subscribe. All right, that's all coming up. We're going to tell you another crazy story about somebody that's buried here, and I'm telling you, the story is wild.
Wow.
It's wild. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
It's wild.
Okay, I think he has a new fan, though, new viewer right here.
Yeah. Thank you, Cody. Appreciate it.
And welcome back. Cody's Caravan. We're at Valley Home
Memorial Park
in Valley Home.
It's a cemetery.
Oh, cemetery. Yeah. Where I just ran into Jeff. As you will find them in cemeteries a lot.
Just bumped into me.
So your channel's History Hunters.
It is.
And you go and you find these incredible stories. Sean and I are big fans. We're like big fans. We talk about your stories all the time.
Appreciate it.
But you're not always in cemeteries. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. You're not always in cemeteries.
That is true. That's true. I will do filming locations occasionally. Alabama Hills is one of my favorite places, over on Lone Pine, where they shot a lot of westerns.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I got to show you where the Lone Ranger was shot, and different movies. The Great Race was shot there. John Wayne's been there a million times.
Yeah.
You know? And went to Laws over in Bishop. There was a train station there. But I do a lot of local history. Unfortunately, a lot of the stories are really sad stories, but that's why you end up finding me in a cemetery, right?
Yeah.
But let's see what else. Emma LeDoux, the Black Widow of Stockton.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Found the apartment where she killed her ex-husband, or she was married at the same time. Did that recently. Also saw the trunk where she stuffed her husband's body in the trunk. It's on display at the Hagen Museum. Different things like that. But what got me started in this is I was always fascinated by Black Bart, Charles Bowles, who committed a bunch of stage robberies throughout California in the 1880s, 1870s. And there's a location up above, it's called Funk Hill. It's in Copperopolis. And there's this huge boulder where he committed his first and last robbery. So this is a very significant place in his life. He'd hide behind this boulder. He'd wait for the stages to come across, and he would hold them up, right? And then so he got shot at the last one. And I found the location of it. There's a plaque on the boulder. And I thought, this would be a great thing to do for YouTube.
Uh-huh.
So then I knew nothing about how to do a video. So, of course, how do you find out how to do videos? You go to YouTube. you can learn anything on YouTube. How to fix your car, how to make furniture. So that's kind of how the whole thing started.
It is fascinating. You find some great stuff. Now, he came out here to do a particular story, and then he ran across another story. And we will tell you that other story coming up. And it's incredible. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, quite honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sure. So that's coming up next hour. That's all I'm going to give you. Okay, I'll give you one more. It involves a limo and how the guy was buried. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Just gave away the secret.
Well, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is a
little
good
bit.
tease.
Just a little bit.
That's
All
a
right,
good
that's
Okay.
coming up.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's coming up.
Thank you, Code. Appreciate it.
We are indeed, of course, Jeff travels around telling these crazy stories about history all in our area, and I'm fascinated by your YouTube channel.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was out here a couple of months doing a story about a victim of a jet plane crash that hit Oakdale in 1959, and the caretaker came over here and told me about this crazy story over here. He said, "Do you know about this story?" And I said, "No." So he leads me over here and he tells me about this Brett Clay Staples, who died in 2001, who is buried in his limousine. He's buried in the back seat, apparently positioned in the seat, sitting, holding wine glasses or something. And I don't know anything other than that about the fact that he died 23 years ago, and so he must have known that he was dying ahead of time. But you don't see a lot of stories in California about people being buried in their cars. I heard about a guy who was buried on top of his motorcycle before, and they actually had him in a glass case, wheeling him down the highway, and he's sitting on this motorcycle, dead as a doornail. That's crazy. Another gentleman was buried in his car. I saw a video of that particular incident on YouTube, but this was complete news to me because I hadn't heard anything about it.
Buried in the back of a limo.
Yeah.
Just sitting back there chilling. I think that's the way I want to go now. I've been thinking a lot about this.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, why haven't the local news? Probably because the family didn't want a lot of publicity about it, but I heard about it, and so I came over here and put it in one of my YouTube channels.
It was crazy. If people want to subscribe to your YouTube channel, and I cannot stress this enough, please subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yes, we are at 130,000 subscribers, and since you've been out here this morning, I've had about another 100, so I know that people are watching your program, unlike me. Again, I get to work early, and I don't watch.
It's fine, Jeff. It's fine. I just been on the show for 19 years. I mean, not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Apologies.
Oh, that was cool. That was a crazy story. All right, back to you guys in the studio. I told you it was nuts. I told you it was nuts.
Cody, I think now I would like to be buried in a Honda Accord listening to a podcast.
He went the way that he loved his life in a Honda Accord listening to podcasts.
Listening to a sports podcast.